Hello everyone and welcome back to the Do So Knits YouTube channel. This is my channel where I share with you guys how knitting has interwoven into my life. This video is all about knitting and traveling, specifically what you should bring when you go on a trip to make sure you have everything you need to keep your knitting going. And so this is the perfect weekend for me to show you guys this because we went on a little weekend getaway. I brought my knitting and some notions as well. I figured I would show you guys what I brought so the next time you pack for a trip, you can make sure you have everything you need to keep knitting on your vacation. Of course, when you're traveling, you have to make sure that you have some knitting projects with you. I like to store my current works in progress in their own individual project bags. So that is the first thing that you're going to need to bring on your trips. Make sure you have your work in progress and a project bag to store those items in, or however you like to store your projects. In my project bags, I do like to just keep the yarn, the needles I'm using for that project, and the yarn's labels. I don't keep really any extra accessories in here. I just like to keep it pretty simple because everything else I keep in my notions pouch, which I will show you a bit later. You can, of course, if you prefer printed patterns, you can keep those in your project bag. I prefer to keep all my patterns digital, so I always bring my tablet with me or my phone. I use the app Knitting Companion, and on there you can download all the PDFs for your patterns. You can highlight, make notes, everything is in there, and it's available on both a tablet or your phone version. I have access to all my patterns in one place instead of in multiple places, but if you do prefer printed patterns, I would suggest just sticking them wherever you're keeping your current work in progress. Once you have all the knitting projects you're going to bring, I then like to bring my notions pouch as well. So notions pouch is just a little bag where I keep all of my little extra accessories that I might need in any of my projects. I like to have just one notions pouch because then if we go out and about, I can grab just the notions pouch, the project I'd like to work on, and I will know I'm not going to forget any of the small accessories I might need when I'm out and about and working on my project, since my notions pouch has everything in there that I might need. Let's look inside and see what I have in my notions pouch. The first thing I always like to include in my notions pouch is a little tape measure. I really like these little retractable tape measures because they save a lot of space and they don't get tangled up when I'm using them. So these ones are just some simple retractable tape measures. You can just pull out the tape measure for as long as you need, and on this one it measures in both centimeters and inches, making it very convenient for your knitting. If you measure in either inches or centimeters, they are both there. And then when you are done measuring, you just hold the little button and the tape measure retracts and it fits nicely in your notions pouch or any bag that you may want it in. The next thing in my notions pouch that I always need with me when I'm knitting is a pair of scissors. So these are just some tiny, simple scissors. They fit nicely. They're nice and small. They're not big kitchen scissors, but enough just to do for my knitting when I need to cut an end or weave in ends. This is perfect. These ones I just got off of Amazon. Nice and small. They are sharp and they feel really nice in my hand as well. So definitely a pair of scissors. Then I like to always have some darning needles. I prefer these ones that have a little bent tip at the end, but these are perfect for just when you've finished a project. If you finish it on your trip, you can weave in some ends and then trim them up with your scissors later. They do have these little ones that you can include little cases for your needles if you have multiple that you can fit. There are some that come like that, which makes it very convenient for putting it in your notions pouch. I just do not have one big enough for this needle that I prefer, but I brought a couple different needles. One's a little blunt tip and one is a sharper tip in case I needed a sharper needle for any ends that I might need. Sometimes sharper needles are easier when I'm weaving on ends on socks, but darning needles to weave in those ends. Also, in my notions pouch, I include this little tin, and in here I just put all of my stitch markers that I might need. So I have a couple different types in here. And it's nice because this lid just screws off and then you can fit all of your stitch markers inside. So I have a mix of stitch markers in here. The first ones are some light bulb stitch markers. So these are nice because they just pinch and then they open up, and you can pinch them and put them back. So they work in the round on your knitting needle, or you can attach them to your knitting as well. And you can get a large pack of these on Amazon for pretty cheap, and I just throw some in here. I also have some larger beginning of round type markers. These ones do not have a clip, so you can only put them on your needle, but if you do have a light bulb stitch marker, you can always open that stitch marker up, put it on that needle, and then attach your light bulb stitch marker if you needed a progress keeper for those. And then finally, I do have some progress keepers. So these aren't necessarily required, these are just a bit fun. These you can just kind of hang on your knitting wherever you're at to show how much progress you've made on your trip, or just to make sure you notate. You can use it to help mark different sections if you need to be knitting from a specific spot and you need to go to a certain number of inches. These can help signify those changes in your knitting. So yes, all those fit in one of these little tins, which I find very handy, and you can just put that in your notions bag as well. Then for any projects that may need some extra needles, when I'm looking through and packing for the weekend, I look at all the projects that I have. If any of those projects need any extra needles, I like to put those in my notions pouch instead of in the individual project bags. But if it's easier to keep track for you to put them in those bags, then do that instead. For example, I was working on some socks this weekend and I prefer to knit them on these 9-inch circular needles. However, when I get to the heel or the toe, I do like to switch to either DPNs or magic loop, and so I brought some of those as well for an easy switch, and I just kept those needles in my notions pouch for when I needed them, and then if I didn't need them, they weren't hanging out in the bag causing all sorts of trouble getting tangled up with my yarn. So those I like to keep in here as well. Even though I do most of my patterns digitally, I do like to have a way to write some notes down when I am out and about in knitting. So I like to include a little notebook in my notions pouch, or I'll even throw this in the bag that I carry around with me all the time. That's normally where it lives. I have one of these. It's a field book cover, and inside you can insert whatever type of notebook that you like lined in here. I just have a little dot gridded notebook. And I like this because as it fills up, I can just replace this little notepad in here. And then this little cover holds a pen and some other things in these extra pockets if you need them as well. So notebook for any notes on the way might be helpful as well. Finally, the last thing in my notions pouch is maybe a little niche and not something everyone needs, but it is a mini scale. So you can use little mini kitchen scales for weighing your yarn when you finish projects. You can also use them to weigh your yarn when you're working on longer portions of projects if you need to know how many grams you're using per row. This can help you keep track. You can see how many grams of yarn you're using per row to make sure you're not going to run out for that project as well. So this is just a mini kitchen scale. It goes up to 200 grams and it's just nice because it's pocket size, not too big. It's enough to weigh my yarn if I need it to take any notes to add to my Ravelry page, or if I need to keep track of how much yarn I'm using. These are great for that. And since it's just so small, I can just keep it in my notions pouch all the time. And then this is my dedicated yarn scale instead of me having to steal the one in the kitchen all the time. So that is everything that I bring with me when I knit and travel. I will try to link to everything that I can down below in the description box if you are missing anything from your notions pouch. So I hope that you guys found this video helpful, and when you pack for your next knitting trip that you can make sure that you don't forget anything that you might need. Let me know in the comments down below if there's something I'm forgetting. Is there something you always bring when you travel that I didn't and you think I'm crazy for forgetting? Let me know in the comments down below. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye! And what notions you should... I don't know how to say this. I just do not